Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. The goal of my channel is to help you to make home cooking as efficient as possible, so you can cook a meal from scratch using all fresh ingredients in less than 30 minutes. In order to achieve that, you require a system that will allow you to make home cooking that is practical, but at the same time creative as well as fun. This is the only way to make home cooking sustainable. However, home cooking also has to be interesting. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate to you how to use a type of tofu known as soy tofu puff. Now, there are different brands, but the basic idea of this tofu is very similar, that they actually have been deep fried, and they fry in very hot temperature, and the end result, the tofu has this sponge type of texture. Now, as you can see here, I'm going to cut the tofu actually into quarter. They come into fry as a single piece. But in order to make it suitable for stir fry and also for eating, it is better to cut them into smaller pieces. Now, if you look at the tofu carefully, you notice that on the outside, it's clearly that it has been fried. But in the inside of the tofu has a very unusual and unique texture. And this tofu actually behave almost like a sponge, as you can see in here. And this is due to the result of the tofu being high fried at very high temperature. Now, the best thing about this tofu is that to create a flavor in the tofu itself, and I use my basic seasoning mix. And this is very low in salt, but it will add umami flavor, therefore improve the savoriness of the food ingredients. Now, to create this nice flavor in this tofu puff, I add hot boiling water, and the hot boiling water will soften the texture of the tofu. And when you combine it with the basic seasoning mix, it's almost like the tofu has absorbed some soup. And the end result is that it gave a great culinary experience. When you bite into it, you feel like you are biting into a packet of soup. And this is one of my favorite tofu, and you should give it a try. Now, my cooking is based on tempeh-based cooking. So in this tofu, I'm going to cook it with shrimp, as well as 8 different kinds of vegetables. Now, the reason you ask is that why you use so many different kinds of vegetables? The reason is very simple. It's because by using different kinds of vegetable, it will make the dish more interesting. And the end result is that you will find it much more satisfying. Of course, by using different kinds of vegetables, it also improves the nutritional value of the dish. I'm going to cook this dish in my Cuisinart 14-inch stainless steel wok. Now, this wok is very flexible, and the reason I choose this wok is because of its adaptability to different types of cooking situations. In addition to use it for stir frying, you can also use it for boiling spaghetti noodles, or even use it for deep frying. Now, in this case, I'm going to season the wok use my spot seasoning method, which is very simple, and you can take a look at this video. Now, the first ingredient that I'm going to add to the wok is some carrots. Now, I add the ingredients according to the order how long I want to cook them. The ingredients I want to cook longer, I add first. And this is followed by adding some broccoli, and then followed by cauliflowers. All of this actually take about the same amount of time to cook. And then I'm going to add some shiitake mushroom. This shiitake mushroom has been rehydrated, and this is followed by some white mushroom and also some king oyster mushroom. Now, the reason I can add all these different ingredients is because of advanced prepping. With advanced prepping, I have all these ingredients available at my fingertip, so I can use whatever the amount that I want. Now, ingredients plays a very important role to the flavor of the dish, and by choosing the right ingredients, you will create the flavor that you want. My wife loves ginger, so I add some minced ginger to this dish. Now, the minced ginger is extremely simple to prepare if you use a handheld food processor. This manual food processor does a really good job in mincing up the ginger. Now, adding the ginger at this time really will create a very nice ginger flavor in the dish, and which my wife is really enjoy. At this point, I added additional amount of oil. because the food ingredients will absorb the oil. If I do not have enough oil, the food has a tendency to get burned. But as you can see that at the bottom of the wok there has almost no oil at all, and that's how you would like it. This suggests that you're just using the right amount of oil. At this point, I keep the heat of the burner still at high as long as I am keeping the ingredient being stirred. I don't have to worry about foods getting burned. And at this level of heat intensity, which will allow me to cook the dish as quickly as I possibly can. Okay, now I'm going to add the shrimp. I'm going to add 5 shrimp. These are large tiger shrimp, and I use the shrimp mainly as a condiment rather than as the main ingredient. So as you can see here, I have many vegetables in this dish. The shrimp mainly added to make the dish more interesting. I add the shrimp at this juncture because I want to cook the shrimp lightly. And then I'm going to, at this point, add the tofu. Now you notice that the tofu has been soaked in hot water with the basic seasoning mix. It has absorbed all of this water actually inside the tofu. When I add the tofu in, the container contains hardly any waters at all because they have been absorbed by the tofu. And this makes the tofu nicely soft. But the fried outside texture will give the tofu wonderful texture and create a very nice contrast. So at this point, the dish is almost done. The most important thing is that I want to make sure I cook the shrimp sufficiently. I can judge this by how the shrimp change color. I know now the dish is just about done. So I turn off the heat. I'm going to season the dish first with approximately 1.5 tablespoons of oyster sauce. And this is followed by about 1 tablespoon of hoisin sauce. And this will give the dish a light teriyaki flavor. And in fact, this is probably my most favorite way to season my dish, partly because it is very simple. It is very efficient. Instead of create all the seasoning agent from scratch using raw or using the seasoning agents separately, this makes it much easier to create the flavor that I want. Occasionally, I will make adjustment to it, but by varying the ratio of hoisin sauce and oyster sauce, you can create quite a few different type of flavor profile that might suit different type of dish. And for this dish, this seems to work out good. I did a taste test. I decided I'm going to add a little bit more oyster sauce. This is a good example of flavor chasing. By continually taste test your dish, you can make fine adjustment as you cook. And this is the wonderful thing about stir frying. Everything is happen right at the moment. It gives you a lot of possibilities to make adjustment and to make changes. And to me, flavor chasing is a critical part of home cooking because it will allow you to make constant adjustments. And each time, each dish will require a slightly different strategy because all the ingredients are slightly different, and just by changing the ratio of the ingredient, you might need to change the seasoning approach. Now, home cooking is absolutely essential in today's age and in this modern food landscape where most people consume mainly fast and ultra-processed food. And not only they are nutritionally poor, but they really do not taste as good as if you would cook a dish like this with all these different kind of vegetables as well as with the type of meat that you want, such as the shrimp that you prefer. The important thing is that you need to make your food taste as good as possible. There are several aspects that will keep you cooking. Number one is time. If you don't have the time, you will not cook, no matter how good a cook that you are. So you need to have a system that will allow you to save time, to cook within the amount of time that you're willing to spend. And most people do not willing to spend more than 30 minutes to prepare a meal because that's the kind of time they are accustomed to when they eat fast and ultra-processed food. And then, of course, the next step is that to make sure that the flavor that you created in your food that you enjoy. If you create the flavor that nobody else can create for you, then you will not want anybody else to cook for you. And of course, last but not the least, a sense of enjoyment. You need to find pleasure in what you're doing. And this approach of template-based cooking is what is going to make home cooking fun. Because recipe-based cooking, most of the time you just follow recipe and you do not know exactly what each of the ingredients intends to mean. But in the case of template-based cooking, you can make adjustments anytime you want. And by choosing different ingredients, not only the type of ingredients that you select, but also the ratio between different ingredients. And then ultimately, with advanced prepping, you have many ingredients to choose from. Okay, give this dish a try. I think you will enjoy it. This dish provides not only different kinds of vegetables, but the contrast in this dish, this ingredient, is absolutely wonderful. And please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you would like to learn more about the fast cooking system. So keep on cooking. I will see you tomorrow.